Stocks closed mixed on Wall Street with the Dow correcting, while the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 ending with gains. The Asian markets have opened largely higher, while the Nifty is also indicating a positive start for our own markets. Crude prices remain range-bound around $76 a barrel. Gold prices have also slipped because the US Treasury yields continue to rise. Rupee falls to a new low against the US dollar, with weak global cues, rising crude oil prices and selling by FPIs being the key headwinds. Government has launched the second round of PLI schemes for the steel sector. The Steel Secretary says that the outlay of 4,400 crore rupees is a carry forward of the savings from the first tranche of 6,400 crores, and he added that the investments and capacity thresholds have been reduced by 50%. The Bajaj Finserv sees gross direct return premium dip sequentially in December, while Poonawalla FinCorp's third quarter business update sees strong disbursals boosting AUM growth. Good morning. You're watching Power Breakfast this Tuesday on CNBC TV 18 in the Mumbai News Center. I am Hormas Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets are faring. It's a majorly green screen across the Asian markets, barring the Hang Seng, though, that is seeing cuts of around 0.5%. But most of the other markets across the Asia Pacific are staging a bit of a rebound after yesterday's fall. The Nikkei is staging and is leading the outperformance, gaining around 2.2%. The Kospi 2 is trading with gains of over 1% in South Korea. The Shanghai Composite is trading just above the flat line, but keep an eye out on Tencent, because that is the one that is leading the losses in Hong Kong, because the US Defense Department has added the company and a battery maker called CATL to a list of firms it calls Chinese military companies, and that is why the ADRs fell 8% last night, and now the Asian listed stock is also down around 5%, and that is what is leading the losses there on the Hang Seng. Pull up the GIFT Nifty. That will give you an idea of how our own markets are likely to start off, building on to the positive start it was already indicating slightly earlier. A 67-point uptick is what the implied open is suggesting, and considering yesterday's sharp correction that we saw on the indices, the bulls would like to take that with both hands as of now. But moving on to Wall Street then, where Monday's trading session was a mixed one, because the Dow closed just below the flat line. The S&P 500 gained over 0.5%, but the Nasdaq was the outperformer yet again, adding close to 250 points, gaining over 1%, and that was because of the outperformance seen in chip companies led by Nvidia. CNBC's Bertha Coombs gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
These markets were mixed across the major indexes in Monday trading, with a surge in tech stocks leading the S&P and Nasdaq higher. The Dow sitting out the rally, down 26 points on the day, but the S&P gained 33, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq was up 243 points, with Nvidia hitting a fresh all-time high. U.S. Steel and Japanese steelmaker Nippon are suing the Biden administration after the president blocked a merger deal between the companies. Companies are alleging that President Biden, quote, ignored the rule of law for purely political reasons. Companies are also suing the CEO of rival steelmaker Cleveland-Cliffs and the president of the United Steelworkers Union for trying to block the deal as well. Meantime, Disney and streaming provider Fubo TV announced a deal today to combine their online live TV businesses. Now, under the deal, Disney would fold its Hulu Plus live TV service into Fubo, creating a new venture that would be 70% owned by Disney, 30% by Fubo. The deal, however, will not include Hulu's subscription video business, just the live channels that are often part of the traditional cable bundle. As part of the deal, Fubo will drop its legal claims against Venue Sports. You'll recall that is the joint sports streaming venture by Disney, Fox, and Warner Brothers. Things are so complicated on the streaming front these days. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back over to you in Mumbai.
Staying with Wall Street, where the December jobs report will be out this Friday, and that will be a critical piece of data ahead of the Fed's meeting later this month. Now, on that front, let's listen in to former Boston Fed President Eric Rosengren, who gives his expectations for the labor report and how that could impact the Fed's decision.
So for the labor report, I don't think there are going to be many surprises. I think we're still going to be pretty close to full employment, around 4.2%, and payroll employment will come in a bit under 200,000. But I think the real news is actually not coming from the data from December, but really what happens with tariffs and immigration policy. So just based on the data, it makes sense for the Fed to pause. But the Fed does have to make a forecast. After the inauguration, there's presumably going to be more information about what the nature of particularly the tariffs are going to be. While the Fed's driven by data, the data is likely to be driven by some of the fiscal actions. And those fiscal actions in the short run are going to be driven by tariffs and immigration. In the longer run, we'll see the benefits potentially from deregulation and lower taxes.
Let us also listen in to Michael Feroli, who is the chief economist at JP Morgan, who also gives his expectations on the jobs report later this Friday.
We're looking for 150K, which is kind of what we've been averaging over the past 6 months, and an unemployment rate unchanged at 4.2%. I think if we got that, the Fed would be okay being on hold at the end of the month, which is, pretty much what they've been signaling ever since that December FOMC meeting, if not earlier. Obviously, if we get a surprise to the downside, you'd have to have a pretty big surprise to the downside, but that could change that narrative. I think it's pretty hard to see upside surprises yet getting a narrative of hikes. I think that's a discussion for much later.
Let us now get to the final update on our global market wrap. This morning, the European markets ended Monday's trading session higher. The CAC closed with gains of over 2%, while the German DAX added over 300 points, gaining over 1.5%, and the FTSE also gaining around 0.3%. And the gains come after US President-elect Donald Trump dismissed a media report that his tariff plans may not be as extreme as feared. Now, the regional Stock 600 index also ended higher with gains of close to 1%. And that's all on the global markets front. But how will all of these cues impact our own markets? Our research team is joining in with how the trade setup looks like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and the setup on the F&O side of things as well. Firstly, Vinny joins in to get all the market cues we need to watch out for today. Vinny, good morning. It was a forgettable session for the bulls. We are at very critical levels. What are the setups looking like this morning?
Absolutely. So yesterday's session, like you're saying, that everyone wants to forget this session. Nifty, sensex both closed at intraday lows. Nifty slipped below the 23,600 mark also intraday. So that was important to watch out for. Now, this is the single biggest intraday fall that we've seen coming in for the Nifty since almost October 3rd, 2024 in percentage terms. Losers like Tata Steel, Trent, BPCL, NTPC, all among the top Nifty 50 losers, while what was supporting yesterday in terms of the move was Apollo Hospitals, Tata Consumers, Titan, as well as HCL Tech. Now, key to watch out for is how are the FIIs who have come back from their holiday season? How is that going to move? Because yesterday, FII selling continued. They sold almost 2,575 crores, while DIIs continued to buy. Factors that we're watching out for in terms of impact, what is key to watch out for in trade is the update on the latest virus that is there, HMPV. Not much of a concern as of now, highlighted by most doctors, as well as in terms of ICMR's note that came in yesterday. But so keep an eye on that. But FII selling, that will be key to watch out for. Q3 updates that we've seen pouring in even this morning. So keep to watch out for those stocks, as well as in terms of US dollars bond yields, how that is moving will be important for the markets. And obviously Nifty implied open as of now indicating a mild bit of a positive start that we're watching out for, up almost 70 points.
Interesting. It remains to be seen whether that sustains or not. But over to Abhishek now, who joins in with the stocks that you need to watch out for in today's trade. Abhishek, good morning.
Good morning. To begin with, Bajaj Finserv December monthly update has come, wherein the general insurance premium is down about 2.5% month on month, while the life insurance that has seen total premium increase by 60% month on month. As such, Kelkar Q3 business update, the company is witnessing healthy demand across key segments. However, they have said that margin pressure is anticipated to persist until Q4 FY25, after which the margins are expected to normalize, and their debts in the book is now increased to about 700 crores. Now, sources say that Steel Ministry has proposed, KIOCL as well as NMDC merger. So NMDC aims to export, iron ore pellets from KIOCL after the proposed merger. Manappuram Finance, they have confirmed a daylight robbery incident at their, Sambalpur, Odisha branch. Manappuram says that the company has reported the incident to the authorities, filed an FIR also, and the total loss is about 20 crores. Now, almost every other year, you get to hear about, a robbery at at a branch of Manappuram. Power Grid, they have been declared successful bidder for 2 projects to establish interstate transmission system under BOOT basis, that is build, own, operate and transfer methodology. Ashoka Bilkon, their arm has executed a concession agreement with NHAI for a little under 1400 crores. Kaplan Point, their US FDA has issued EIR with 483 observations for their arm in the state of Tamil Nadu. So US FDA inspection was there in the facility in August of 2024. BPCL, they have issued clarification on news report that Maharashtra Natural Gas to list through IPO of over 1,000 crores. They have said that the board has given an in-principle approval for the IPO subject to regulatory approval. Back to you.
Abhishek, thanks a lot for that. And finally, Mangalam joins in with cues from the FNO space. Mangalam, good morning. We have very critical levels now for the Nifty. How is the FNO setup looking like?
Well, yesterday indeed was quite a horrific session for the markets. And if you look at the Nifty Bank as well as the mid-cap index, you would see that there was, a fair amount of selling and something that was really hurting everyone. This morning, there is some reprieve when it comes to the GIFT Nifty. Let's look at the reasons for decline. The first one, of course, was the rupee being at a record low. Secondly, the weak third quarter updates. And then we had the HMPV scare that came by as well. But amidst all of this bad news, the Nifty did not break December 31st low of 23,460. In fact, it rebounded from 23,550 itself. So that's a positive. And secondly, the market fell on low FII selling. Yes, the rupee was at a record low. But if you look at the FII selling in the cash market, which is 2575 crores, not something that we haven't seen earlier. And on the other hand, the DIIs went ahead and bought 5,700 crores in the cash market. And that's not all. The FIIs actually bought in index futures, close to around 240 crores. They unwound some short positions, added some long positions as well. And as a result of which, between Friday and yesterday, the FII long exposure inched only higher from 17% to 18%. So what is it that led to the big decline in absence of such selling? My sense is it was the unwinding that we saw from put writers that led to this further downtick on the market. So we had the 23,700 put writers, 24,000 put writers, all of them caught on the wrong side, and as a result of which they had to unwind their positions. But on the way up, we saw a lot of call writing at 23,800 and 24,000 itself, and that brings me to the question, could there be a bounce inside? Why do I say that? Because overnight, the dollar index has cooled off by almost 0.6%. Secondly, experts are saying on HMPV, there's nothing really alarming about it. And the third part, because of this, strong call writing that we've seen, the Nifty put call ratio has moved to 0.72 as well, which is at the lower end of the range. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a positive start. The first test of a reversal will be when the Nifty crosses, and if the Nifty crosses that 200-day moving average of 23,900. Yesterday, there was a big fall, but could there be a recovery or not is the big question today.
That's the answer everybody on the street will be looking for. Mangalam, thanks a lot for that. Time for a short break. There is a lot lined up on the show, so stay tuned. Back on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV 18. Let's first quickly take a look at how the Asian markets are faring. Continuing to hold on to gains is the Nikkei and the Kospi as of now. But the Hang Seng, though, continues to remain lower by around 0.5%. And the Taiwanese index, though, is moving in line with how the Japanese markets are moving. The Nikkei is up over 2%, but the Taiwanese index is trading with gains of close to 1.5%. And we'll talk about the Asian markets as we go on through the day. But pull up the GIFT Nifty as well. Mangalam was just mentioning the key levels that the Nifty needs to cross, but the 200 DMA being the key level. The GIFT Nifty is building onto the gains. At the start of the show, we were around about 65 to 70 points higher. Now the implied open is suggesting an uptick of close to 86 points as we speak. So a positive start, a bounce that is likely for the index in store, but the 200 DMA will be the key to watch out for. But the big story of the day is that the Ministry of Statistics, or MOSPI, will be announcing the first advance estimates of the GDP for the current year at 4 p.m. this evening. Now, the next year's budget numbers will also be based on this data. Lata is joining in, who has done a poll of economists on what to expect from the MOSPI regarding this year's GDP estimates. Lata, good morning.
Well, there is no mistaking. Today is actually the first step that is taken for the preparation of the budget. The Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, MOSPI for short, will announce the first advance estimates of this year's GDP. Let us be very clear, this year's GDP. And it will give you both the real GDP and the nominal GDP. You know, what MOSPI actually calculates is at today's prices, how much of goods and services are likely to be produced in the full year. Then they deflate it to the 2011-12 prices. So the nominal GDP becomes important. On the basis of that nominal GDP, the government in the budget will assume whatever, 9-10%, depending on the chief economic advisor. They take a call on how much nominal GDP will grow. And then you derive tax as a percentage of nominal GDP, fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP. All those numbers are derived. And then you draw up the budget. So that's why this is the first big step. Now, what does our poll say? Our poll says that real GDP in the current year will grow by only 6.3%. It's a bit of a disappointment because about 10 days ago when we did for the new year, people had said 6.4. So there is a bit of, bringing down of the expectation of real GDP. The Reserve Bank's estimate still stands at 6.6. And of course, last year we did 8.2. Now, the nominal GDP, as I told you, is the more important figure. The nominal GDP, according to my poll, is that it will be 9.9% higher. And the total figure, if it grows at 9.9%, the GDP itself will be 324.5 lakh crore. What was the assumption in the last budget? The budget had assumed, FY24 budget, had assumed that the nominal GDP will grow by 10.5% to 326.3 lakh crore. So the actual nominal GDP is likely to be less than what was assumed in the previous budget, and therefore the deficit will have to be lower. If the MOSPI's estimates of nominal GDP is indeed 324.5, then the fiscal deficit for the current year will have to be a little lower. It was assumed at 16.3, if I'm not mistaken. It has to be lowered to 15.9 lakh crore. And the budget, on the basis of this nominal GDP, will assume its own growth for next year. And we will have to see, of course, a new poll on how the FY26 nominal and real GDP, that we won't know today. What we know today is this year's nominal GDP.
All eyes will be on that number. Lata, thanks a lot for that. Now, the Heavy Industries Ministry has written to the Finance Ministry in support of the auto industry's demand for GST reduction. Parikshit is joining in with more on this. Parikshit.
Well, this is a very important development because the Heavy Industries Ministry is the nodal body for the automobile industry. Last year in the month of June, auto industry bodies, two-wheeler makers had approached the government hoping and requesting for a GST reduction on CNG two-wheelers. This, they felt, would definitely increase the penetration of CNG two-wheelers all across the country, and this would also help India in meeting its carbon reduction goals and emission reduction goals as well. So what has happened? The Heavy Industries Ministry sought reactions from ARAI, it sought reactions from Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, Ministry of Environment and Forests, and Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Now, these are all ministries which deal with the automobile sector in one sort of a way or the other. Now, all of these ministries have supported the call for a GST reduction on CNG two-wheelers. Now, the original proposal of auto industry body SIAM was that the GST on CNG two-wheelers must be brought down from 28% to 18% and gradually to 12%. So this demand has been supported by three ministries and now the Ministry of Heavy Industries as well. But the final call can only be taken by the GST Council. This is not a decision that the Finance Ministry can take on its own or announce in the budget. But it's important for the industry to know that the Ministry of Heavy Industries and three other ministries in the government are sympathetic to that demand as well. So this is something that would be good if it happens for companies like Bajaj Auto, which have a CNG two-wheeler portfolio, and also TVS, which is coming out with a CNG scooter in future.
Parikshit, thanks a lot for that update. Time for a short break. Cues from the commodities side on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and Manisha Gupta now joins in with all the updates from the commodity space. Manisha, good morning. There was a cool off in the dollar. There is a slight pause in crude oil prices as well. What are you picking up this morning?
Oh, well, yes, it's a good day to start with for the Indian markets. Yes, the decline in dollar index absolutely seems to be supporting some of these metal prices. So when I look at gold, there is a support there, but an even better jump coming in for silver prices with more than 1.5% of gains overnight. Copper as well, which was trading at around 3-month lows, is gained 2% overnight. So we are back above those important psychological support levels, as we can call it now. But a major surge, Hormuz, has come in for the natural gas prices. Well, that one gained 10% overnight. There's a forecast of extreme cold in U.S. The U.S. actually could see the coldest January since 2011 is what the reports are suggesting. And then you have rise in gas flows to the U.S. LNG plants as well for exports. So all of these factors really seem to be supporting the natural gas prices right now. Crude, as you said, yes, after making a 3-month highs, hitting a $77 a barrel mark in the U.S. markets yesterday, has seen some decline continuing today as well. But it really is going to be about the U.S. jobs data on Friday. That is an event that the markets are looking forward to.
Oh, absolutely. Waiting with bated breath for the jobs data. Manisha, thanks a lot for that. That's a wrap on this edition of Power Breakfast from me and the team that put this show together. Thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call sets you up for the day's trade.